It's been 10 years since we started the Craft Beer channel. It's gone from a hobby, to a side hustle, to a full-time job thanks to the support of over 150,000 subscribers and most importantly 400 wonderful Patreons. We aren't done yet, but in the last decade we've travelled all over the world, from Norway's Arctic Circle to China's Oktoberfest, from the west coast of America to sunny Barcelona. We've met food royalty, actual royalty, and of course brewing royalty, while making 3 feature-length documentaries and winning several awards for our filmmaking. It hasn't all been smooth sailing, far from it, but as well as the beers we've tasted and brewed and the places we've been, we'll always remember the incredible people we've met. To thank them, as well as our viewers, subscribers and Patreons, we decided to host a 10-year anniversary festival and brew a few collaboration beers to serve there. What started as 4 beers snowballed to become 10, one for each year we've been making films. Which means for the last 4 months we've been travelling all over the UK and even Sweden to brew exciting beers with some of the inspirational friends we've made along the way. We've made everything from traditional German fest beers to British hop golden ales, through piney West Coast IPAs to heavily fruited Berliner Weisses, and of course a big juicy New England IPA and one monster coffee Imperial Stout. This is the story of just one of those brew days. In the last of our series about our birthday beers, we visit Siren Craft Brew, one of our original Patreons and favourite UK breweries. Siren is still one of the most exciting and experimental brewers in the country. Perhaps specialising in big barrel-aged beers and blends, but also brilliant at making the West Coast IPAs that were all the rage when they were founded by Darren in 2013. Just over a year ago we made a feature-length documentary with them called Time Hops, which was all about the way that American hops, breweries and IPAs had changed the craft beer scene. As part of that we brewed 4 beers that paid homage to those original innovators. So it made sense to come back to Siren for a bold birthday West Coast IPA, but this time to give it a 2023 style twist. Tell anyone?
Hey gang, welcome back to the Craft Beer channel.
Today we are brewing not 1, but 2 collaborations for our 10th birthday.
Amazing.
So we are here in the wonderful industrial estate just outside of Finchampstead. You all know it. Oh, maybe you do, because it is the home of Elusive Brew and Siren
Craft Brew.
So yeah, we're mashing in twice, we're boiling twice, we're transferring twice today. We're brewing 2 very different beers though.
We are. So I was just thinking of we're mashing in twice. We're gonna find out who's naughty or nice.
Cutting on the floor.
Yeah.
So we brewed a delicious golden ale with Elusive using Mystic hops.
Mystical.
Today we are brewing a big old West Coast IPA. Classic, bright, bitter, bold, some caramel kind of character to it. However, we are taking a slightly modern twist and indeed throwing in a hop that might raise some eyebrows.
Oh, I see.
The purists. So I'm looking forward to the comments. So we're very proud that they said they'd like to do this with us, and they have embraced the brief with gusto.
As always.
I never talked about that. I don't know why I've suddenly started talking like that. But we're very excited about this beer, and this is the story of how it came to be. Cheers.
Cheers.
With 2 mashes happening that day, things were a little chaotic, and we were mostly witnesses to the brewing at Siren. Still, we got the gorgeous aroma from the big pale and Munich malt mash that would get us to 7% ABV, as well as some of the hop additions, which for this beer were as complex as they were hefty, as head brewer Sean explains. So Sean, thank you so much for having us again. Another big IPA collab. We're going all out West Coast. But of course West Coast is a bit of a broader church, I think, than some people realise, kind of as we learned when we did the Time Hops together. And we sort of decided not quite to strike it down the middle, but certainly to mostly take influence from what's been happening on the West Coast nowadays, right?
Yeah, and Time Hops gave us a good exploration of that and how West Coast IPAs as a style have actually evolved. And collabs are always a great thing, and a collab we've done with a brewery we get good friends with, Green Cheek in California, has taught us what we think is a more modern style of West Coast, which we call California IPA, which is what we've been brewing a lot of, and it's got us more interested in coming back to the older West Coast as well.
So like a California IPA is, you know, the sort of the crystal influence and even a bit of the Munich that we talked about, the Russian River, is kind of gone. It's ultra pale, still a super clean yeast. Yeah, slightly moderated the bitterness because you've taken out the sweetness, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's a play with the bitterness, with using things like water profiles, the hop selection for your bittering hop that gives a real sticky resinous bitterness. I think the other big thing with the California IPA is having a very clean malt base, very light. We use just Pilsner malt to let the hops do all the work and do the shining. Whereas a West Coast, you want a little bit more of that malty backbone.
Yeah, you're kind of trying to balance like crystal sweetness with that resin and pine and grapefruit. Whereas with this one, it's like, no, this isn't about balance. This is about those hop aroma, really.
And then what we've learned through time hops and collaborations is like there's this middle ground now, which kind of calling a modern West Coast IPA, which is based around getting rid of the crystal malts, still having a bit of colour, so maybe some Munich in there, which we've gone and done today with our collab, and trying to let the hops shine that way. But still having a bit of a malt backbone to it.
We've decided to put a bit of Munich in, a little bit of malt kind of backbone, a little bit of complexity there, but we've also very much gone between sort of the two styles with some kind of big, fruity, juicier hops, but also some of the sort of the old schools, the Simcoes, the Centennials, to try and bring a bit of both coasts to this beer.
Yeah, so on the hop side, we're using Simcoe as a bittering hop because it gives a nice resinous, I think a really good sticky bitterness that I really like in the style. We're then playing around in the whirlpool with Simcoe and then using Incognito Citra, which is the liquid flowable hops, which have less green matter and very intense. It allows us to put more hops into our whirlpool so we can get that layer in there on the hot side, which is good in the West Coast. And then on the dry hop, looking at two charges, we're putting in more varieties than I'd normally put in an IPA, but I think it's fun for complexity and in the collab. So Citra and Simcoe in there just to give us a nice West Coast base. I've got Centennial in there, which is giving us that old school kind of resiny, piney thing. Talus is a hop that I really like, and throwing it in there for a bit of grapefruit, and then we've just decided to throw some Nelson in there to just lock in some fun, juicy kind of gooseberry flavors.
Yeah. So yeah, when you sent me the brew sheet, other than me going cross-eyed because there were too many numbers, the other thing was the talus. So it's a really small amount, but it's going to bring a kind of, I guess, sharper pink grapefruit and a little bit of, you know, what's really nice in IPAs, which people think all taste the same, is have a little bit somewhere like, oh, what the hell is that? So it's not going to be like, this is a talus IPA. It's going to be like, huh, where's that coming from? Yeah,
and that family of hops, the Neo-Mexicanos hops, do a nice lifting thing in dry hops and hop profiles. Adds that complexity. When Talus was launched, we were luckily one of the breweries that got to launch it in the UK, and everyone brewed a hazy beer with it, and we went with a California IPA, and it worked beautifully in there. So I think it's going to work really nicely.
So that was the Neo-Normal.
Yeah,
which is still one of my favourite West Coasts I've had in the UK for a long time. I absolutely love that Talus character, that pink grapefruit. I still get like a little hint of coconut, but it wasn't like sunscreen. It's just like, oh, there's a nutty fragrance kind of thing to this beer. So everybody watching this will be waiting for some buzzwords to come out, which they'll need to hear if they're ever going to consider this a West Coast beer. One of them is bitterness, and we're not shying away on that.
No. So we've gone with 100 IBUs, but playing around with our water treatment and our sulfate to chloride balance or ratio to really get a nice crisp bitterness, but also it'll be resiny, and I've said sticky bitterness a few times. That's what I really like. Simcoe does that. We use a bit of flex with this, which is CO2 extract as well. So we have a half flex, half Simcoe.
So you're getting a super clean bitterness from the flex, and then this kind of nice sticky thing is going to complement the Munich and the fruit from the Simcoe being right there at the start.
Yeah.
So plenty of bitterness, brightness as well.
Yeah.
You know, haze is. I wouldn't say it's unacceptable, but people associate now haze with pillowy body and velvety kind of feels, and we want to avoid any of that. So a little bit of haze, I guess, would be okay. But
we've got a big dry hop, so there might be a little bit of polyphenol kind of haze from the big dry hop, but I think it will still come up pretty clear. We're going for 6.9%. So to just like crispen up the beer, we are adding a little bit of sugar just to make sure we don't end up too sweet. Further balance.
So we still get the ABV without adding more and more malt kind of flavour to it. Yeah. Well, I'm dead excited about this. Like, brewing a West Coast IPA, as we learned when we did the West Coast one, is the biggest challenge because it combines like the lager challenge of having to make incredibly clean ferments with the fact that you've got these massive dry hops, so much chance for oxidation, and a lot of balance to play around with, whereas, you know, lager recipes are pretty simple.
Yeah.
So we've got a complex recipe and a complex process. And, you know, we came pretty close with our collab, but I've never nailed it. So I've learned a huge amount by looking at that brew sheet once it all came back into focus. So I cannot wait to taste this and see if people at the festival can pick out the talus. I might not even tell people there's talus in it and see if they find it changes their minds. With the beer in tank, all that remained was to wait nervously to see just how much coconut would come out and whether we got the Munich malt proportion right. We found out literally the day before our birthday festival when we sat down at Hackney Brewery. So this was brewed on the exact same day that we brewed the Elusive.
Oof, that was a big day.
It was a big day, a lot of mashing, a lot of hopping, very different styles, British Golden Ale, big California IPA. So this one, there might be a little bit of haze to it. It was a massive dry hop, lots of modern hop character. There's Nelson, there's Talus, and then there's some of the big C hops as well. So some of that classic pine, but also hopefully plenty of, who knows, could be gooseberry white wine acidity, could be coconutty, cedar woody stuff from the Talus. There could be lots going on. Hopefully a big complex aroma.
Great colour.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the gentlest of haze and aroma-wise.
Oof.
Well, yeah, loads going on. Get loads of kind of Nelson character from that little kind of acidic fruit thing.
Is there a bit of coconut in there? Like you were saying about Talus? I feel
Yeah,
like a slight, tiny bit.
To me, Talus is no Sabro, but they have similar lineage. It's Neo-Mexicanos, these Mexican sort of wild hops that are being bred into American hops. And there is a little kind of coconut cream thing to it as well, which is really nice, very, very subtle, just adds complexity. And then there's citrus and pine underneath that kind of gooseberry and coconut thing. I mean, it smells great. It smells really unusual.
It does.
But works really nicely with, again, I pushed up the Munich kind of character in this a little bit, just to almost to kind of join up the sweetness of the aroma with the, you know, the more savouriness of sort of the maltiness. So you add a little bit of sweet malt character in there and it joins the two, was the thinking, and it smells great.
Oh, wow.
Big, bold bitterness.
Yeah.
Happy with that. And yeah, really kind of bittersweet. Less chewy than the beak one, but still got loads of kind of mouthfeel to it. Loads of juicy, piney complexity.
Yeah, it's great. It's juicy, but it's sort of dry as well at the same time. It's very interesting.
Very kind of grapefruity in that regard. It's like bitter and sweet.
Yeah, I think maybe that was what it is. It's like a grapefruity bitterness.
Yeah.
But juicy.
Breakfast juice.
Breakfast juice. But I'm definitely still getting a bit of coconut sort of vibe.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. And that's what we were aiming for with that hop regime. Like, once we knew what this recipe was going to be, like old school classic, I wanted, and Siren really wanted to get some complexity in there to set them apart. Obviously, the ABV was supposed to be different too, Beak, but didn't pan out that way. So.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot less malt character. I think that's probably what I'm not getting as much. There's not any sort of caramel notes or anything like that to it.
No, even though I did amp it up a little bit to make sure that, because sometimes if you have a very dry beer and a big fruity aroma, which I find with a lot of cold IPAs, they feel entirely disparate and the fruit can start to feel a bit synthetic and a bit weird, doesn't quite mesh. So we made sure there was enough, but as little as we could get away with.
Yeah.
And I think it's come off pretty well.
It's great. I think it's great. It's a really unusual beer, but in like lots of brilliant ways, I think.
So yeah, I mean, we managed to put 1, 2, 3, 4 IPAs in and have them all wildly different.
This is it.
Which just goes to show that when people are like, there's too many IPAs on tap, you're like, yeah, but which kinds of IPAs? It's like going, there's too many lagers.
There's not enough, Johnny.
Not enough.
More taps. More taps of IPA. More taps in general, just of everything.
Just more taps, yeah. If there's going to be more IPA taps, also
yeah,
more
we'll just have as much IPA as we can, but as long as we get some other stuff too.
I'll be okay
like
with
our
that.
festival.
Exactly that. So cheers, Siren. Thanks for having us. Also, happy 10th birthday to you.
Yeah, it's always great.
The same year as us.
To see how those guys are kind of developing. They've got lots of exciting stuff all the time whenever we go there. And they're just wonderful people.
Wonderful, wonderful people. Making great modern IPAs. Cheers.
Cheers.
Then you have magic. One comes around, one today. They don't see things the same. Two walk like two and the walk like two out the door. Then you have magic.